Yeah, I'm here in my PPE's personal protection. Is this considered PPE personal protection? No, this is for safety. I have to wear this dang thing so I won't get ran over in this yard. I am at work, as usual, but I have a great review. So I just got done watching Paths of Glory by Stanley Kubrick. I watched several of his films before. Have to say I like his films, but this one was on my to watch list, so I decided to watch it. You know, might as well. So it's the story of basically it's the story of men facing the impossible over and over again, but not the same group. So it takes place in during World War I. French soldiers are going up against some German soldiers. They have to take a position, but it's impossible to take. But they've been given an order, so they go anyway. It's basic suicide. That's the first impossible thing. Now, the second impossible. Well, I take that back. I'm getting ahead of myself. So the first impossible thing is there's a high-ranking general telling a lower-ranking general to do something that's impossible. Then that lower-ranking general was telling, I think he was a colonel or a captain, colonel, telling a colonel, I don't really know military ranks that well, he's telling a colonel to do that impossible thing. So you see it's trickling down. This is a great view of military structure and how that saying is so much. I mean, I believe everybody's heard that saying, at least from Private Ryan, shit rolls downhill. And I think everybody's heard that, and you can use that in so many different instances in life. But this is a great illustration of that. So, you know, it's going down the line, impossible. Now, you step aside from that, and you have these little I don't want to call them skirmishes. I want to call them, what should I call them? You have these interactions between other characters, or these relationships that are being built between these other characters that you're being seen as the person viewing this movie. So you got three guys on a night patrol. The most ranking officer is basically very scared. He winds up killing one of the soldiers and thinking the other one is dead, but the other one makes it back. They get into it, but they have a history. One thing I want to say, I know I jump around in these reviews a lot, but the one thing I want to say is, man, I had a thought when I was watching this movie, and I'm like, a movie like this deserves more than the amount of time that I'm going to give to it here. It's such a great movie for different reasons. For different reasons. Now you take into consideration how the acting is. Now this movie was made in 1957, so a lot of the actors are they're acting in like a classical manner, if that's a way to explain it. Oh, I would never do that. How dare you? You know, they're using their voice and puffing their chests out, and you have that going, right? So even though it's really corny to watch, it feeds into the environment because it takes place all in a military setting. Now, of course, someone who hasn't been in the military like myself, I wouldn't know if this is the way it's acting, but their acting is overdone. But I feel each character, the actor is portraying each character as it should be portrayed. I'm gonna tell you why. Because they're put in an unwinnable situation, and then they're forced to. Then they, I guess they're, I wouldn't say forced, but they have this feeling that they have to stand behind their decisions, which they do. And you can feel that. You can feel that being projected out. and you can feel that aspect of these characters being projected through the actors, well, by the actors, I should say. I get that. That's one good part, and the fact that it's in black and white gives it an extra extra layer of complexity. But the fact is, it's quality black and white. It's not like black and white and it's like little dots and the pictures all messed up. It's clear as ever, but it's just black and white. I should have researched if that was done on purpose or if color TV was or color movies were around. I think they were around, but I don't think they were widely used, at least until the 60s. But I mean, this is 57, so we're coming to it. They're coming to that age, I feel like. I don't think the first colored television broadcast, I didn't think television was that big until the 60s. Well, I'm trying to get to the history of things. I shouldn't be doing that. But that's another element of it. So you have the acting, you have the story itself, which apparently is based on truth. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. That's out of my wheelhouse right there. Things that happened that long ago, especially in World War I, I don't know, dude. I couldn't tell you if it was true or not. I enjoyed the movie. Like I said, the acting really was the tipping point for me anyway. I'm trying to think what else happens. So let me get back to the story before I forget. So where am I at? I'm at the situation. I'm at the point where the mission has been handed off to the colonel, I believe. Oh no, I'm talking about the instance where the 3 soldiers on their night patrol. So let's start from there. So they get back, and the guy's writing up a report about 2 guys died valiantly and this, that, and the third. And he's like, the guy walks back into his office. Like, what's going on? He's like, oh, you expect to see me alive? I was like, oh no, I thought you were dead. So they get into it, and they start doing a little back and forth with blackmail. But then it comes down that the general, the lower ranking general, wants to execute he wants to execute 100 guys. He wants to execute 100 men for being cowardice. But it's not a case of cowardice. They literally not going to succeed at this. They were going to kill themselves, and now they have to. And now the general wants to kill them for not wanting to kill themselves. It's unbelievable. So you have that, and then he's like, and then there's some type of, and then you get a look into the back room. So these 2 generals are having a conversation with this colonel, and somehow, at their best wits, they decide to only execute 3 men. Now, take in mind, there has to be a court-martial hearing before this. This is all coming from the movie, of course. I don't know this off the top of my head. So while they're doing that, so while that's about to happen, the colonel offers himself up as legal counsel for these 3 gentlemen. But as many people know, outside of war, these men or boys are professionals. They have careers outside of the military, because during World War I and World War II, and probably, at least in America's case, all up to about the Vietnam era, there was a thing called I forget what the name is called, but it's basically mandatory for men of a certain age. You have to go. The draft is active in most countries at this time. So when we go to war, we all go to war. So when the country goes to war, we all go to war, believe it or not. And we've been, for a couple of generations, we've been pretty lucky not to have the draft. So and that there's no war, of course. So, but before he was in the military, he was the best defense lawyer in all of France, believe it or not. So he's trying to do the best job that he can, or how he knows how to do it, in order to win these men freedom, because they don't deserve to be killed when everybody pretty much did the same thing. One of them wasn't even awake during the attack, because he was knocked out by his commanding officer's body falling on him in the trenches. It's just, and I cannot leave out the performance of those three men who were chosen to be executed. Brilliant performances by each of them. The contrast from each one of them isn't overly obvious, meaning it's like, oh, he likes blue, he likes red, he likes orange. It's not as clear cut as that. It's like they're all soldiers. They bring up just enough to separate them, and of course their acting does a good job of separating each of the characters, but they don't bring up enough to make them each individuals. At least that's my opinion, because I think that would kind of diminish the severity of them about to be killed. Only the major thing that you're looking at is that there are three soldiers that did their job to the best of their abilities, but it still wasn't good enough, or they had to be made an example of. They had to be used as scapegoats. Can't believe it. So eventually I don't think I should give every little tidbit. Somebody feels like they should watch this. So eventually they get to the position where they have to be executed. They get executed. Now, some more information comes to light. Proof that this was all insanity. The colonel brings that up. The highest ranking general says, okay, I'll take that to consideration, after, of course, the colonel decides to blackmail him. So he decides to put all the blame on the lower ranking general. Right? And then what does he do? He turns around, offers that colonel the lower ranking general's job. And the colonel's like, I can't, what? This is insane. They're going back and forth. I pity for you, you pity for me. I'm leaving so much out, and I know I'm not doing this film justice, but it's a great watch. I enjoyed it. That's all I can say.